All right, excuse the absence, guys. I've been sick for a few days. I still am a bit, but I've got enough in me to do a bit of a video here, even though it's very late Sunday. It's a shame though, because it was pretty exciting at the end of last week, this week. We had the tech stocks go down quite a bit, in particular, like Nvidia stocks. Did the bubble burst? I don't know, maybe, but that went down quite a bit. Whereas small caps and sort of Dow Jones stocks, so I would call them you know, standard businesses, real businesses, they actually did quite well. So that's interesting rotation. But the metals got pretty slammed. Friday was a bit of a bounce day. I don't know if it was really related to the DXY that we're looking at now. I don't think so because there was quite a lot of action in the Japanese yen. I mean, that was quite strong here. You see USD, Japanese yen come all the way back down to prior support here, this 152 zone. But DXY basically nothing much, right? We still bounce from this fake breakdown and we're back in the above 104. I don't think it really matters what happens. Obviously, we've got Fed day on Wednesday, but we've got news before that and after that. So like a hectic week full of news is standard. But DXY, I wouldn't look into it too much. Yields, likewise, there is one thing to talk about though in yields, and that's I think the difference between the 2 year and the rest. The 2 year, you can see is really breaking down here. I mean, not dramatically, but it is below ascending support, and it's, in my opinion, just underperforming the rest. Look at the 30 year, for example. I just really look at the 30 and the 10 year. 10 year is starting to break down a little bit too, but the 2 year is showing, maybe a rate cut is coming. And is that gonna take place just before the election in November? Is it coming up, imminently? We'll see. What will the effect be on the markets? I don't know. It'll probably help gold out. But yeah, yields just dropping off a little bit, especially the 2 year. The dollar, I think that Japanese yen thing moved a little bit, but otherwise nothing much to speak of. Let's go straight to gold. Now, gold actually already now it's been trading 40 minutes into Monday trading, and it's up. It's probably this Lebanese escalation. Although it looks like it was a Iron Dome missile that fell down on that stadium that killed those kids. I don't think it was a Lebanese rocket at all because it was a very small explosion. But so this might die off as the news filters through. The news that the speculation that I'm giving, maybe that's filters through. We'll see, whatever. But the point is, we did have this drop. Down it goes, seemed to hit the more 2350-ish level. So maybe that's short-term support for gold, 2350. I mean, we've kind of flushed this 24, 2390-ish, 2385 zone. So, but look, right now we're testing 2400. So can we reclaim that? Let's see. Monday hasn't even really started. So, but it was a decent bounce on Friday, it kind of like retested resistance. So we had this newly defined support at 2350, and then it's retested prior support, which was resistance, which was kind of, this 2390 zone. And right now we've pumped through it, but obviously we're very far from the daily close. But gold has come down quite a bit from its old 2480 high. It's quite a retracement. Nowhere near as much as silver though. The thing about silver is it came down way too, not too much. It came down, it was nowhere near as strong as gold. It was just way weaker. Look at that, 2850. We were going to bounce. I thought there was going to be a bit of a bounce, and it looked good until we got smashed in the face. And actually, quite a few commodities did. Even uranium. I don't want to change the topic, but uranium. Look at that. Usually that seems to move with gold and silver. That's gone, smashed all the way back down to old support levels here, just below 27. But yeah, no, silver. The thing about silver is that we hit this nice little 2850 zone. Yes, I expected a bounce, which didn't come, by the way. But if we did bounce, there was a lot of resistance. And I mentioned this, 3050, definitely 3150. And if you even crack above that, then yeah, okay, 3250. But that would have looked okay if you close above 3150. 3250 is a short thing, and then the breakout looks real. But by then, you've probably got gold already making new highs. But silver had a lot of resistance. And when gold started to break down, silver was just this was a bit excessive, but silver does that. I didn't see this. I drew this just on the day that it happened. I did not predict the move down here. I don't even see this as support. It just probably coincided with when gold hit its level, 2350. So those are the levels we got for now. At least we got new levels. 28, I'm going to call this 2860 rough area of resistance, and 2750. If we keep going down, which I don't see happening, but you've got to account for it, then I got 26 as a level. 27 could obviously be, it should be, it's really every 50-cent increments, but that's that's what I got for silver for now. Silver's chart is pretty damaged. I mean, yes, it could reclaim this 20, let's call it 29. It depends what gold does. Gold really needs to help out. But the good news, because obviously I want the metals to go up, generally speaking, but I really want the miners to go up more. And the miners continue. I don't know if last week was really a strong outperformance, but the miners continue to outperform overall the metals. And on the way up, that seems to be the case, which is good, it's bullish. And on the way down too, I would say, not every day, but especially with silver. So for example, let's just look at silver, right, and compare it. Let's just do it the other way around. SILJ, right, the little aggressive miners, the juniors that should really get smashed in the face if silver's going down. SILJ versus silver is still hanging around this absolute breakout zone. Let's call it 0.43. And that's a beautiful thing. And you can see that in some of the miners I might show you. For example, let's look at the gold version. It's not as prominent in gold, but let's just do GDX versus gold. Sorry for the coughing. But I mean, look at this. Okay, we came down a little bit, right? But overall, it's not like we're all the way down here. We should have been smashed more. But again, it's more prominent in silver. Let's just actually look at the miners on their own. So we've come down for sure. And we know what silver's done. It's really gone smashed. Gold a little bit. This kind of makes sense. I think this is average. It came all the way, and look at this. This looked so good at one point today on this Wednesday. We're going up and then down it goes with the markets. I remember I was watching the correlation between the markets and the miners. There were moments where the market goes down, the miners went up. And the miners were going up more than the metal. It wasn't like oh, everyone's flocking to safety and gold, and therefore, okay, the miners go up. It was the miners are leading the way up instead of the metal as a fear trade whilst the market was going down. There were moments of that during the week. I promise you, I saw that. But then at one point, I don't know if it's the metals that started to go down or was the dollar going up. At one point, the miners are just like, okay, it's too much. The market's going down too much. Let's just go down also. People were just selling miners because the market just kept on going down because there was some pretty big down days, -3% days in the NASDAQ. We haven't had that in a long time. So pretty big moves down. And unfortunately, the miners, that's the big debate, I feel. It's like, what happens when the really big crash comes? Do the miners go up a lot or down a lot? Because you just don't really know. You can make a case for both sides. And I feel like if it's not very aggressive, the miners could go up. But when it gets very aggressive, everyone sells everything. I think that really is what happens in the end. And it's the first time for anything. Obviously, you could just have a day where it gets really aggressive and then all of a sudden gold gets bought and everyone just flocks to miners. That's the one dream we all have. But I felt like it was a bit of both. When it's lightweight sell off in the markets, the miners actually go up. But when it gets a bit too much, the miners just get dragged down. So with all that said, here we've got the levels GDXJ. I've got 43.50. It was prior resistance. It was also happened to be where we had a bit of bounce. Now we've got a bit of a gap fill. Maybe I move this down here. Actually makes more sense because we've got a gap fill there. After this, 46. I don't know if that really counts anymore. Let's remove it. It might still count, but it's just a cleaner picture. There you go. That's what I got for GDXJ. Might as well extend that because that's also resistance. We're not going to get up there anytime soon, but it's Fed week next week. Let's do SILJ. SILJ, I don't have support here. That's just silver finding its support when it did. I didn't see that coming, but that just bounced when gold hit its support. So I guess that makes sense. I might as well add a line in for that because that obviously counts. So that's your support going into this week. This one I might as well keep. Seems to have counted there before. Yeah, it's a nice round number, 12. Um, this one I'll move it down just because of this height here. So that's what I've got for SILJ. Keep it simple. Might as well extend this because it's possible. You never know. It still goes down a bit more. We'll delete that. We don't need that anymore, but it's obvious that is a buy zone. I did not buy anything. Did I? No, I didn't. I did not buy anything last week. I was trimming. My plan was always to sell, but I, as usual, didn't sell enough. But that's okay. GDX. I think we can move this one up here. The support of this zone, the resistance that we had on Friday, that'll do. We'll add another one for the low of week. Something to watch out for on, well, this week. And then after, if we do keep going down, then something like this, it's probably 34.5, but just to make sure I catch it, because I'll probably buy actually. Let's do 34.8 just in case. And here we'll extend this. Didn't think we'd need this, but we might. Let's delete this. That's what I'm watching. And you never know, it could be a big week with the Fed. What if they do announce a cut? It'd be ridiculous if they did, but we could zoom up very quickly. So we'll add that there. Okay, that'll do. I'm gonna look at my portfolio. Still have this cough because I'm talking quite a lot here. Let's go. Newmont did quite well, if you ask me. Look where we've closed, given where the miners are and given where something like silver is. You know, that's 1 or 2 days away from testing 49. So it's Newmont again did very well. I think it had decent earnings, maybe not as good as what some people thought. Quite a few people were hyping it. I think me too. I mean, I don't know too much into the details. I just thought that they would have better earnings. And I think after hours it moved up, but then the next day it was down 3% because it was a big market crash day. So Newmont didn't get to benefit from very good earnings yet. Let's put it that way, but very good, you know. Support resistance, keep it simple like this. All right. I mean, you've just got to take out 49, close above 49, and then you should just zoom past 50, like it's not even there. I'm on your way to 53, but we know what's going on in the sector. There's a lot of technical damage, especially silver. You know, I know this is more gold related, but silver's going to get resistance, and that'll probably stop gold from moving up. So I think you have to choose your levels of resistance to sell into. And Newmont, depends how well the sector's doing, but I'm considering trimming. I'm considering trimming everything actually. I've got so much in the miners, and I always thought we'd go higher. We should go higher. Long term, we are going higher, but short term with the market looking a bit risky, you know, and we've got these elections coming up soon. You got escalations in the war. What if Trump comes in and ends the war, which he will do actually in Ukraine? Maybe there's a massive gold sell-off there. I know long term nothing changes, and peace in Ukraine doesn't change the macro monetary, you know, long-term trajectory of the dollar and stuff like that. But still, you could try and catch a bit of short-term drop in gold and buy back lower. It's just such a good way of magnifying your profits. So Newmont, I just want to keep it simple, but definitely if we start to go back up, nice. But if the sector is going to run into resistance, I will take advantage and try and sell Newmont, trim a little Newmont, little 10% or something as high as I can. And I think that, you know, after 2 or 3 good days, you could get Newmont at 43 or even in the 50s. So Newmont looks good. This is the support I'm looking at. I don't see us going down this far down. But anyway, Barrett Gold, look at that. Nowhere near as strong. That's been the case for some time. I mean, you've got this little low here, 1770, that could easily go immediately on any sort of drop. But then where do you go? Wow. Where do you go after that? You got a gap fill. You got quite a few little zones to consider here. Let me add this gap fill. On the way down. Yeah, on the way down. I'm not sure. Maybe 17, maybe. Going lower than that's a bit too much. Retesting this descending, I don't think that's going to take place because by the time you do, you're probably below 16. We're not going anywhere below 16. That doesn't make sense to me. You know what? I don't think that's going to happen, and it pretty much coincides with 16. There you go. Those are levels I'm watching on Barrett Gold. On the way up, I would trim, but I don't have too. I have a bit more in new one at the moment because the value of Barrett Gold's gone down so much that actually I don't think I would sell if it really went up. Unless it went up about 19 or higher, I might sell. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll probably just hold what I have. But if it starts to drop into the 16s, I'll definitely think about adding. But yeah, this is nowhere near as strong, so it's a bit of a hold for now. It's a shame it had a great breakout potential. It still does. Selling this is ridiculous, but just thinking about risk management, the ability to buy back lower. And Nico's still holding up pretty well. Again, another one that's 1 or 2 days off from testing new highs. You know, you've got this. Actually, what I'll do is I'll throw this higher. There you go. So if you have 1 or 2 good days, you could start testing. It's actually a little high now. Resistance 77, really. It's all about 77. And you could do that in 2 days or one amazing day. Now, if you start to close below this 72, you'll probably start accelerating lower. 70 should be a zone, shouldn't it? So 70 after that, maybe somewhere like here, just on the 69. Let's throw in, I don't know, 69 looks good actually. Just this zone, you know, bit of resistance over here, bit of support there. I just feel like that's probably the zone. But 70, of course, but I'm probably not going to be buying a Nico because I've got enough up there. And let's be honest, there are many stocks that have come down a lot more, like Barrick Gold. This one is still way too high, even though it's a fantastic business. So I'm holding, but I'm probably going to trim. I should actually trim a bit more than what I have. I should trim already where it is. I think Monday should be an okay day for gold. I think we'll probably still have a green day. So who knows? Maybe I'll trim a bit of a Nico, but definitely one of the stronger ones. Pan America. Think about what silver's done. Pan America's doing very well to hold up all the way up here. We've come down quite a bit. How much have we come down from the highs? Yeah, just over 10%. It's okay. Silver's come down quite a bit more, I would say. So again, outperforming. Areas of support. Let's just see. Maybe we can add one of these. Ascending. I think if you do come down to 20, you're probably just below the ascending, so it's probably gonna get bought back up. It'll probably end up closing above into the ascending, and you're gonna fill this gap. So maybe this is for the really greedy people. If you've got a massive drop in silver, I mean, to get hit another 7%, that's asking a lot. That's probably a bad Fed day on Wednesday as well. But a move down to 20 is a hell of a buy. Gap fill and probably get bought back up. But otherwise, it could just miss the gap fill and go to 2050. So I'll do something like this. This is obviously a level also. There you go. I'll leave it like that. On the way up, we've got another gap here, so I might as well add that. There you go. Delete that. So fill this gap 2260. If you keep going, then 2350, and then the old highs of 24. I'll just do this so that I don't miss any level. I'm very sensitive to Pan America. I've got quite a bit in that one. Actually, it's kind of worth the same as all these top four, but definitely outperforming silver. I don't need to look that up. I'm pretty sure of that. And a fantastic stock. So just holding this one. If it goes down to 20, I'll probably buy. If it goes up, I'll probably trim a tiny bit, small stuff. SSRM. Yeah, this one I keep saying it's a weird one. It works on its own dynamics. You'll see it very often red when everything's green, and you'll see it very often green when everything's red. I think a good case in point is the Thursday. I think that was a red day, was it? And it was just green, looking like it wanted to break out. And it doesn't surprise me, I've said it many times. SSRM looks probably the strongest out of all the stocks I hold at the moment. It's not performed the best, but it looks really good. It looks completely set for a breakout of 560 and move all the way to 590/6. So this one, normally I'd be trimming it here, but I'm so sure that it's going to move up regardless of what happens, that my first sell is actually, I think it's 589. Small trim, and then if we start to break out at $6, I think it's every 50 cents. I'm just trimming a certain amount, trim. And then as it breaks out. I actually think it's going to break out no matter what happens. And then at some point, the metals will break out and it'll just accelerate. And I think we're going to have a bit of a run. And I just want to sell into it because in the end, SSRM, good company, sure, but it's just so undervalued. I think it belongs all the way up in the 8, 9, 10s, no matter what happens. And then I'll take that money and then just disperse it amongst the rest of them, the best of the rest. So, but SSRM looks very good. I don't know what you guys think, but really, I'm quite sure we're going to see $6 next week, this week. All right, Wheaton. Of course, given what's happened, uh, a revisiting of the 58 breakout zone, right? 58, look at this over here from all the way back then. Totally makes sense, totally technically obedient. Not the best close on Friday. It was red, whereas most of the others were green. But I feel like it will just sort of curl where it is, kind of curl, whatever. It could even have a bit of a dip more. But basically, when you zoom out later, it'll just look like a curl and it'll go back up as it always does. Nothing wrong with this. It won't take this long either. So not the best. If do we keep going lower? Obviously we could. I think you could just say something like this would be a zone 55, but I see it kind of just curling just around in the 57s and then back up it goes. Honestly, nothing else to say. And will it go back up and revisit 63 and make new highs? Yeah, it will. Franco Nevada, never as strong as Wheaton. Has to come down too much. Let's just move this to the current support zone for the week that we just had. If we break below that, then yeah, 114 will probably find support before then. The new resistance will be up here. Okay, and it just emanates from here. There you go. I don't think we need to add any more support, do we? That's a bit too tight. Probably, no, that's probably a false signal. It's too steep. There you go. Just keep it like that. And then, of course, 140, if we do get a breakout. I don't see a breakout soon, though. This one needs a bit more time, more than Wheaton, actually. Metalla, extremely disappointing as usual. Can't come down with the whole sector. And now in the end, we see this move all the way up here. 330 was the real resistance. I was looking at 335, but I was off by a few cents. Again, it just re-emphasizes how important and how precise this descending is. We just hit it again, you know. Now we did have some okay candles. So it came down. It's disappointing. It always does. But these candles are not too bad. Nice close on Friday. Feel like we may have a move back into the threes coming. And then when you hit this 320, depends how long it takes. You got to consider the fact that it's taking this descending again. Do you trim again or do you expect it to finally break out? I'm just holding what I've got. I'm not buying any more because I'm disappointed. I also have enough in it. If it goes all the way down to 240, then I probably will finally buy some more, but that probably indicates a big move lower in the sector. So who knows? I may even not buy this and buy something that looks even better. Not necessarily something that went down more, but something that looks like it's going to go up more from where it is. But yeah, it's getting to crunch time. You can see this is getting pretty tight, this little pennant here. So, but yeah, let's see what happens. I think I'm moving to the threes, no problem. Let's look at First Majestic hitting the silver stocks. Now, First Majestic's been one of the weakest silver stocks. It still is. It had this good little Thursday. That was a really nice. Let me get rid of this. It had a really nice Thursday bounce because again, many stocks had a bad Thursday, but First Majestic was okay. All things considered, Friday slightly disappointing. Let's say I would have expected a bit more of a move because it's far from its highs, but strong red days, very discouraging. If we do have a move lower, in gold, silver, whatever, expect this all the way down to 520. I can't believe it's going to go back down to the low fives. Given that the low was pretty much, mid fours, that's pretty close to the lows. And this is one of the ones that really spiked. It had this, was it bad news dilution or something, usual shit. But the fact it's coming all the way back down is a little surprising. Plus Majestic is, a very well-known company. It's always one of the top silver stocks. But I feel like the CEO, he does all these interviews and he talks a good game, but just the stock doesn't really do that well, does it? Um, and the company doesn't do as well as many of the others. So it's one of the disappointing silver stocks. But we've had a few of those, like EXK, and look how well that's done. And if there's a silver squeeze, this one will move. So I just feel like we're getting to a very cheap point where it's just worth buying and holding. I'm holding what I've got. So let's look at it technically. Um, well, this has worked pretty well, this line, but we've got a more precise one now. We don't need to show the historical path to it. So the low of, let's say, 570, right? That's your support. If we go lower, it's 520. If we move up, I think we got, it's probably going to be 580, but let's just leave it at the high, 585-ish. Oh, sorry, 680, 685-ish, and 7, of course. So actually, I'm going to leave it as it is. And this descending would probably count also. I thought it'd go all the way up here. And no, it didn't. We came down. So it'll take a lot to go all the way back up there. And then, but if we do move back up to 7, by the time we get there, it's probably going to start hitting its head on this again. At which point it'll probably break out of it. But you need a big move up in silver for First Majestic to get moving. Because even with silver moving up, it doesn't seem to get moving. So for First Majestic to break out, you probably need company specific news to help. Anyway, let's leave it like that for now. Let's look at Fortuna. Another disappointing one, right? Bad news. And look at that, it's flushed down to these levels. For me, this was a clear level of support, 480. We just on this Thursday gap below it. Friday, we were unable to get back and even test 480. So resistance is 480. If we start moving above that, it's probably going to be here, actually 513-ish. But I thought might as well leave it. And actually now it's probably still 540. I'm going to ignore these little moves a little higher, a little 5 cents higher. 480 to 540. But we have to recognize the lows during the week, this 460-ish zone. But I do also have 440, and I've got so many lines. I'm right regardless, because you're eventually going to hit one of my lines. But I do, you know what I mean? These are still relevant. I had this the whole time. I could maybe move it a bit lower. You know what? Let's just do it the absolute low. 430. 430, because the low of this zone here, 460, obviously 480. And then it's probably going to hit one of these, the highs up here. We've got 4 candles that couldn't really get past 510, but I'll ignore that. And then of course you got the gap fill zone, and then you got the old high. Lots of resistance on the way. This is the kind of stock that you want to sell it on the way up. And I did thankfully sell at 539 a little bit. I mentioned that at the time, in case we didn't get to fill the gap, which was the case actually. So this one is a sell on the way up. Plus we were on the back of bad news. So Fortuna, not one of the best ones. Definitely a sell on the way up, trim on the way up, right? Thankfully, this is worth not very much, a bit like First Majestic. Not just because I sold into some moves, but also because it's gone down and the value of that stock's gone down with it. So, but now I'm more comfortable with how much it's worth. And I actually want to trim many of the other stocks so they're also worth a little less, kind of in line. I just had too much. I said it for a long time that I've had too much in this, and I did get to trim some, and others, the value dropped because the stock dropped. After this, it's curled up. Len, still my little darling, it's come down, but it's still one day away from making new highs. This 680 is very strong resistance. I've trimmed it at 679, so it's worth a lot less than it used to. It used to be worth over 6K at one point, and now it's worth like below 5. It's like 4.5 something. So it's worth much less. Like it's worth what it should be worth. Still maybe a bit too much actually. And that's whilst it's all the way up here. So if it starts to drop, the value will be like probably below 4, which is very light for me. So I'm very happy with the way I've sold into the move up. But to be honest, if we get a reversal, this will make new highs straight away, and then I'll probably be upset that I sold. But that's the way it is. You can't cover every angle. I wish I'd sold Fortuna and First Majestic the way I'd sold this one, but they were never making as many new highs. But let's look at it technically. You got this clear resistance at 680, which you could hit Monday if it was a good day. And then maybe 7, but probably not because it's so close to 680. I got 750 up here. So 680, 750 on the way down support. Well, obviously, I'm going to say obviously $6. It's been resistance, it's been support. It's also going to be ascending support imminently. It is already Monday, Tuesday. Now, if you start to lose $6, probably 560, a little gap fill there. Plus, it's way too much of a move down to hit 520. Or is it really going to be 540? I'll just do some sort of an average 535, something like this. But you know what I mean? This sort of zone here, this low zone here. And then after that, I don't see us actually going lower than that. Otherwise, it's probably going to be $5. But I'll leave it like this for now. I'll even move it up to 540. That's how strong it's been. It deserves that little extra higher level of support. But there you go. Keep it simple. Very strong still. Very happy about that. Next one I'm going to look at is Heckler. Heckler's still one of the strong ones, right? Compared to First Majestic, strong. Are we at a bit of level of support? I guess we are. And if we're not, still, that's the low of the week. So I'll add that there. Yeah, resistance 630, support 560. If we keep going lower, it's probably only $5 at one point. Might as well add that. It is possible. And then after that, it's going to be the low. And you know what? I might just add an ascending support for this. Quite a lot of lines. But anyway, I'll leave that as it is. Hector's good, though, relatively strong. And remember what Silver's done. Silver's been smashed in the face, and it looks like it's got a lot of resistance on the way up. So this one here, if we start to have a decent move in silver, straight away back to 630, which I will trim because silver, I'm sorry, it's going to have a very hard time to just take out all its resistance levels. But Heckler definitely outperforming. That's nice. EXK, another one outperforming. It's really Heckler, EXK, and Kel Darlen out of my sort of silver stocks that are really doing well still, despite what's going on. SSR, I know SSRM is not silver. And maybe Mag Silver actually, which I'll take a look at just after EXK. So EXK, very nice. Is 450 resistance or support? Not anymore. Why was it before? It was the old high. No, now EXK, $5. It's the high. It's also a big psychological number. Maybe 480. Actually, look at these two candles here. That'll probably more realistically be resistance. So I'll add that into EXK. I've trimmed quite a lot of. It's just making constant highs. So this one I've trimmed to the point where it's also worth not too much where it is already. Not just because it's come down a little bit, and that's a little bit, not a lot. But I've trimmed quite a lot of this non-stop. So I think 479 was my last. Did I sell $5? Maybe. I don't know. But very happy with the trading of the XK. If it comes down, I'm happy to buy. If it goes up, I don't even know if I would trim again because I already have trimmed this area, but maybe. Again, silver, it has a lot of resistance on the way up. And if you start to see a silver down 2% day because it hit resistance the day before, it's very hard to imagine EXK having a green day. So I really am thinking about trimming, even those I've already trimmed, just because I see a lot of resistance in silver. And gold, it might take a while for it to make new highs. So nothing's changed long term, even medium term, but short term, could catch some of these lower. Okay, yeah, resistance $480, $5, support $420. Otherwise, we keep going lower. The ascending, I don't see us going all the way down to 360 to fill this gap. So I'm going to leave it as the ascending. I don't see us going below the ascending. Next one, Mag Silver. Again, another one that's doing okay, right? Given how awful silver's been. Look at this. It was ready for it on, $14. Down we go, and now it's hovering just above 13. 14 is resistance, definitely. 14/1430 is the same thing. 14 is resistance. Support is the ascending, right? If we just drop straight away on Monday, that'll be around 1230-ish. Then there's the gap fill. I feel like that's same as EXK. And then we've got this horizontal level of support. I think I'm going to leave it as it is. It's clear, even though there might be one or two resistance and support levels, especially support. I just feel like I don't need to ruin the graph. I can read it quite well just as it is. Next one, ARMN. Yeah, this one is doing okay. I'm going to delete. No, I'll leave it up here. I used to think 450 is a general area of resistance, and it kind of is, but let's just leave it up here. It's so close to where it is anyway. Nice close on Friday. Yeah, so resistance, it is kind of 450 to 460. Let's do 460. I actually trimmed this so much that I don't think I would sell unless it hit 460 now. So 460 on the way up, on the way down. Well, actually $4, not just the psychological number, but it's also the low of the week. And it's clearly bounced off that intentionally. After that, we've got 370. After that, I've got 350. And after that, doesn't really matter. I would let it fall because at that point it'd be falling 320, which would coincide with the ascending. That's also quite rough in its estimate. There you go. That's what I'm looking at. I've sold this one quite well, so it's worth not too much, nowhere near as much as it used to. Plus it's come down. So this one I'm happy to, I don't want to buy where it is, but if it came down to 370, I might, depends if there are better deals out there in other stocks. But if it's going up, I don't even know if I'd sell. I'd probably just hold it for the bigger move, actually, this one. If it went up, I've already trimmed even 460. I would wait for 480, maybe trim one last time and then wait for the big move. Trade this big zone here. I want to have enough ammunition, enough value in it so it really moves once it's in the fives. And if it comes down to 370, maybe. If it starts to flush below that, definitely. Next one, I am gold. Yeah. Looks like Fortuna, except it went a little further into the gap fill, but it didn't make it. Resistance, well, I guess it's going to be, well, yeah, 430-ish, you know. If you're even able to climb above 420, then I think 430 is where you start to see some resistance even before. Then you've got the gap fill, which is going to be 444-ish, and then you've got the absolute high. So lots of resistance, a bit like silver, a bit like some of the silver stocks, like Fortuna. Lots of resistance up here if we can get there. Otherwise, sending support, or is this just desperate? Nah, it's not credible enough yet. If we start to move lower, then 360, 350, go on 350. It's weak enough to maybe even hit 350. Move it up a little bit there, just above 350, something like that. And where it is now, is that really a support or resistance zone? Where's that coming from? No, that's not enough for me. I'm going to delete this and just leave it. What I would be more inclined to respect is this. High, support, resistance, support, and low of week. There you go. So for me, 385 is more of a clearer support zone. Okay, that's good enough for I am gold. B2 gold. This one hit a high of 315. Let's actually call it 318. Basically 320. Down it went. Retest of the breakout, kind of. It's come down quite a lot here. B2 gold. This is one that's just proved that it's going to squeeze. Reminds me of Nova Gold, which is really doing what I want B2 gold to do. You know, squeeze, come back, retest. Is that where we are now in B2 gold? Retest. What did Nova Gold do after that? Boom, back up new highs. And look where we are here. Close at the high of week, you know? It's the best close of the whole week. It had that day where I wanted to squeeze, but the whole sector started to crush. So it went down, still had a green day. Next day, recovery day, even though it's a red day. Nova Gold did very well. And it looks like it's going up. It's going up to like 650 or something. This is a squeeze going on here. B2 Gold, I think that's very similar. Something, not yet, right? But it's something you can expect. So you want that little curl and move back up. B2 Gold's a bit like SSRM. I feel like it can go up even if the sector's red. It's just doing its own thing. But here, however, it came down with the with the sector this week, you know, not even this week, 2 weeks now. But I feel like we're doing a bit of a retest here of breakout. It's not obvious where the breakout is, but look, low of week 285. Next resistance, yeah, there are mini zones maybe, but I'm just going to keep it simple. 317. Did it retest the descending breakout? Pretty much. So roughly, yes. If we keep going low, where is support? It's going to be this ascending support. This we can forget. I don't think we'll ever get there again. If it does, it's obvious anyway. This, I'll leave it yellow just so it's quite clear for me. So if we start to flush down, I don't see this happening, but 260, by the time it does it, 270 is probably, I don't think it's going to happen. There you go. I'll just leave that for B2 Gold. Equinox. This one came down quite a lot, actually. Big red bars. I was a bit surprised, and actually it happened faster than I thought. And I again, I didn't buy anything, or did I buy some Pan America? I bought very little this week. I was just like, I have too much in the sector. Yes, some came down quite a lot, and some were at technical levels. I would say a bit like Equinox, where it is here. You know, 520s. That's a ridiculous buy. We were at 620 just 2 weeks ago. And it's a great stock and technically strong, and I think it's gonna just squeeze, you know, a bit like Nova Gold. But I didn't buy because it was still worth, because you know, when I started to see this flush down, I looked at the value of these miners that I had, and I've got a sort of a certain allocation, and Equinox was still worth a lot. It was worth kind of medium amounts, and with everything crashing, I thought I don't want to get too heavy right now. So I didn't add, but this was a good zone to add. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So, and I added this ascending level. I just see it, you know, as a possible support zone, not just the simple horizontal lows. But the point is between 5 and 520 is very, very strong. And when it hit 523-ish, that, you know, that's the same as 520. That's a very, plus we've just come from a new high, 620, you know. Here we're hitting 520s and just below 520 all the time, but we hadn't even tested 6 yet during this period. And here we just zoomed up to 620. So for it to come all the way down to 520, of course, it's going to bounce. So support between 5 and 520, or even 525. Resistance, yeah, you'll get quite a bit on the way up. 6, of course, will be a bit of resistance, but I'm going to keep it all the way to 620 because I trimmed this on the way up. I trimmed, I think it's 6 and 620, but still it's worth quite a lot. So I'm just going to leave it. If we go back to 620, if I think the sector's, you know, the metals or the sector's going to hit resistance because we have our resistance levels on the way up, then I might trim this, but otherwise I'm happy holding what I've got because I've already trimmed that area. Okay, next one is SBSW, which is not really a real gold and silver stock. Look at that. Not the best. But again, I'm not trading this until it breaks above or beyond, above or below this box. And it looks like below is the more likely, yeah, the more likely option, especially if the whole market starts to continue to flush. Close wasn't great on Friday, so a close below 4, especially 385, would determine further downside. And I can finally add to this, and then it becomes interesting. I don't have time to look at all the others, guys. I'm very sorry. EGO, yeah, 1730 is your resistance. It's come down, but not too much. Still flagging very high compared to a lot of the other ones. Just watch your, you know, low of the week, and then you probably, this probably has to be respected 1450. Oops. And then of course 1400. So those are 3 levels on the way down. On the way up, 1730. Keep it simple. I'm not going to do all of them. Nova Gold, like I said, I just looked at that one. That looks really good. That's in continued breakout zone despite the red week. Harmony, that one's come down quite a lot. I've noticed that one's really come down. A little bounce there, gap fill, but really anything just above 8 should be a buy. In fact, where it is now, it's just come down quite a lot. Look at that. That's like 25% drop. Anglo Gold, that's filled the gap perfectly. Wow. And then it's filled, this little gap is just created almost perfectly too. So that's a gap filling, a serial gap filler. I'll leave it there. It's very late. I'm very sick still. Sorry for the coughing. I hate it. Let's see what happens. It's always exciting. And this week will be full of full of events. Wednesday we've got the FOMC, I think, but we've got news before and after, and we've got wars and we've got elections. It's just absolutely wild, and we've got market crashes going on in different sectors. Watch the FX, watch the yields. They're moving now because of not just the Fed, but the market crash going on. So is there a rate cut coming on? Is that because it's election induced? FX is wild. The wars, the different commodity sectors that are going down. Some of them not as much as others. Uranium is interesting, but the miners are still more interesting for me. I'm already in there. Gas, oil, some of the tech stocks, right? Nvidia, that was interesting. Tesla, that got smashed in the face. Nvidia, that was, look at this. I was mentioning this little 116-ish zone here. Then we closed below it and bam, we flushed. But look at that reversal. Then we retested price support and that acted as resistance. So are we ready to go back down again? Should we fill this gap just below 100 without cascade the markets? So very interesting stuff. Anyway, good luck and speak soon.